Hi everyone, thanks for watching another video about this CompTIA Security Plus certification. Today we're going to look at some exam questions. We will go over them together and hopefully we can learn from it. This way you have a good idea what you can expect on the exam. Thanks for watching, see you soon. Hi everyone, thanks for checking out this 16th video in this video series about the CompTIA Security Plus certification exam. Without any further ado, let's go into the test and into the questions. Which of the virtualization manager types require a host operating system? That's type 2 of the virtualization manager. Which of the following security measures can be used to prevent VPN sprawl? Usage audit and asset documentation. So the auditing of usage, who uses the VPNs, and the asset the correct documentation of the asset. What are the countermeasures against VM escape? Sandboxing. Sandboxing is a concept of kind of containerizing part of the hard drive so that when you execute something, it only affects that part of the hard drive. It will not infect the rest of the operating system or files or stuff like that. So this is a very neat way to, to lower the risk, especially when you're dealing with programs that, there may be illegal or you don't know exactly the origins of the program. So with sandboxing, you can do that. So sandboxing, and of course, patch management. Install the latest patches and you're up to date and you're good to go. A cloud computing service model offering remote access to applications based on a monthly or annual subscription fee is called software as a service, because we're talking about applications. Software as a service. Which of the cloud service types listed below would provide the best solution for a web developer intending to create a web app? Platform as a service. Pass. Which of the following answers refers to a cloud computing service model in which clients, instead of buying all the hardware and software, purchase computer resources as an outsourced service from suppliers who own and maintain all the necessary equipment and software? Let's see. I think that's IaaS, that's infrastructure as a service. Which of the answers listed below refers to a cloud computing development model in which the cloud infrastructure is provisioned for open use by the general public? Public cloud. Don't get it confused with community cloud, because community is a small group, basically, and public is just, the general public. Yeah, so basically everybody. A cloud deployment model consisting of two or more interlinked cloud infrastructures, private, community, or public, is referred to as hybrid cloud. That's true. So private, community, or public, a hybrid cloud can be, you still have a few infrastructures. Let's say, for instance, you have, when you log into the network in the morning, the Active Directory is still on-premise, but the Active Directory also grants you rights for the cloud. So then you have kind of a hybrid solution where you still have servers on-premise, but most of the servers are in the cloud and acting as either software as a service, infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service. So that's basically a hybrid cloud. A remote server hosting a virtualized user OS is an example of VDI and VDE. Just try to remember this. Which of the following answers refers to a security policy enforcement software tool or service placed between cloud service users and cloud applications. That's a cloud access security broker, and that's this one. It's not a web application firewall, the WAF, but it's really cloud access security. Yeah, broker. A broker is always somebody in the middle, so between the cloud service and the users and the cloud applications. Which of the answers listed below refers to cloud-based security management outsourcing model? Security as a service. SEC AAS. Security as a service. And that way you outsource security management basically. A type of text file containing security configuration settings used for security policy automation in Windows-based environments is known as, it's known as a template. Not a library, not a repository, because that's Linux, and snap-in is something else. So a template. A reference copy of the entire state of a computer system used for mass deployment on multiple devices is used as, is referred to as a master image. This is used by system administrators inside bigger companies. They have like a master image, and that image will be used for all the computers on their network, basically. So this is an image of, let's say, for instance, Windows 10 with the latest security updates and latest patches, and this is a stable release. And this is the type of release that we are using now. So in a couple of months, the master image will change based on the security updates and various patches. But this master image will be used for all the computers on that same network. So they all have the same patch level, basically. And it's also easier for them to reinstall systems. Continue. A file-based representation of the state of a virtual machine at a given point in time is called, because it's a virtual machine, it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot of the machine. When you work with VMware, you can make snapshots of the virtual machine, which is very useful, especially just before a major update. You make a snapshot, and after the update, your machine reacts in a way that you didn't expect. You can go back to the snapshot, and that's the moment in time that your virtual machine was functioning correctly. This way, this can save you a lot of trouble, basically. A restore point is more database-like. That's a restore point of a database. A snapshot is more virtual machine OS-based, and a system image is a complete image of the system. In a persistent VDI, each user runs their own copy of a virtual desktop. And at the end of the session, user desktop reverts to its original state. No. At the end of the session, user data and personal settings are saved. So whatever you did that day on that machine will be saved. That's when it comes to VDI. Virtual desktop infrastructure, I think, VDI. Which of the following answers describes the characteristics of a non-persistent VDI? Okay. The non-persistent is at the end of the session, user desktop reverts to its original state. And the virtual desktop is shared among multiple users. Continue. Which of the answers listed below refers to a type of removable storage media that contains a portable, non-persistent OS? That's a live boot media. Non-persistent. So this is basically if you can run a operating system live from a USB drive. So even if you run yeah, how should I say this? Let's say, for instance, you have a Windows 10 machine and you plug in a USB drive and you boot up Tails OS or a different Linux distribution. You can do that from a USB drive, and all the whole system will be stored in the memory of the computer. And as soon as you turn off the computer and you unplug the USB drive, Windows 10 is back there. Windows 10 will be installed on a SSD or a hard drive, but this live boot media is usually bootable. So most often it can be loaded from a USB drive, calling it a live boot media. This is very well, when you really want to dive into very secured-minded operating systems like Tails OS. This can be run from a live boot media. Maybe in the future I'll make a video about this. Continue. Which of the following terms refers to a cloud computing feature that allows for automatic allocation of computing resources in proportion with the demand? This is rapid elasticity. So let's say, for instance, you have a website. Normally you have 100 hits a day, but now let's say, for instance, you sell masks, during the COVID epidemic, and you did that before the COVID epidemic. Now, before the epidemic started, you sold about 20 of those masks each day, but now you sell 20,000 masks each day. That also does something with your website and the resources and the bandwidth and stuff like that. If you want to be able to deal with that much, with the increase of traffic, you have multiple servers, stuff like that. We call that rapid elasticity. So when you really want to take care of the peak in traffic and make sure that your web server stays running and all the orders come in and there's no delay and nothing, then this technique is called rapid elasticity. The capability of a hardware or software system to process increasing workload without decrease in performance is known as scalability. The term distributive allocation is a less commonly used synonym for load balancing. Which of the following solutions does not provide redundancy? RAID 0. RAID 0. The rest is all redundancy. Load balancing is redundant, so you have multiple balancers, you have multiple web servers. Failover cluster RAID 1 is basically two hard drives having the same kind of content, so when one fails, then you still have another one, which is redundant. Alternative side, RAID 0 is, it's not redundant. UPS is redundant, virtualization is redundant. You can have multiple systems with the same OS and the same state. RAID 5 is a redundant setup, and data backup, of course. When you make a copy of something, it's the data is redundant. A device designed to provide emergency power during an unexpected blackout is called a UPS. Especially, when you have a critical website where if you have a blackout, you're missing out on serious cash. And also in general, it's embarrassing when there's a power outage and your website is offline. So all the professionals in the field, when it comes to hosting servers, networks, stuff like that, they all have UPSs. Even as a consumer, you can have an UPS. Let's see. I found one earlier. This can be one. This is the price in euros. A UPS, and here you can see the electricity here on the back. So it's basically a big battery, and as soon as the power goes off, this thing will power your servers for, let's say, half an hour, and within half an hour you have the time to close off all the servers properly, or maybe you're back online when it comes to electricity. So your servers will keep on running, which makes sure that the website or the web servers or whatever you're running stays up and will not go down because of a power outage. So UPS. A storage technology that combines multiple disk drive components into a single logical unit to increase logical volume size, improve performance or reliability is known as what we talked about earlier, redundant array of independent disks. So redundant array makes multiple disks actually, independent disks that can be set up in a RAID 1 or a RAID 5 configuration or RAID 0. Then you don't have it set up redundant. But let's say, for instance, you have 4 disks and 2 of those disks are they have their own set of data, and the other 2 disks are an exact copy of that data. So that is a redundant way to store data. If one of those disks breaks, then you still have another disk with the exact same copy containing the data. You remove the broken disk and you insert a new disk. Then the disk that still functions with the data on it will be copied to the new disk, and you're redundant again. Basically, if one disk breaks, you still have the data. So it's very important data, company data or personal data that you really don't want to lose ever. You set it up in a RAID configuration. Which of the following solutions does not offer fault tolerance? That's RAID 0. Last question. Hardware-based RAID level 5. What does RAID 5 does? This continues to operate in case of a failure of more than one drives. Yes. And it offers increased performance and fault tolerance. Single drive failures does not destroy the array, and lost data can be recreated by remaining drives. Basically, what I just told you. One drive is dead. You exit the drive. You remove the drive from the server. You insert a new drive, and the contents of the drive still functioning will be copied to the new drive, so you're redundant again in data. So you always have a fresh copy. If one of the disks fails, you still have your data. Finish. Let's go over the examples. Looking good. Okay, made a mistake here, the last one. Requires at least three drives to implement in the RAID 5 configuration. Good to remember. This was not correct. This was, so those two, okay. This was continues to operate in case of failure more than one drive. Wrong answer. Okay, so RAID level 5 requires at least 3 drives to implement, and it offers the increased performance, fault tolerance, etc., etc. 25 questions, 24 correctly answered. Still kind of good. You see, CompTIA Security Plus is really about a lot of terms. What is RAID? What's RAID 0? What's RAID 1? What's RAID 5? Where is it for? What does it stand for? What's a UPS? What's load balancing? What's scalability? What's rapid elasticity? What's a live boot media? Stuff like that. It's basically a whole lot of terms. And when you're not familiar with computers, then it's or your own network or your own little server, then it's kind of difficult to learn. But when you do have some experience because you've been playing around with computers for longer periods of time and you know some of these concepts, then it's not too difficult to understand. Again, it's just a lot of terms. It's a lot of terms that you have to learn, and you know what's it about. But hopefully these videos will teach you more and faster than you would by reading just a Security Plus book. And again, if I teach you guys, then I learn myself, and this way we're all winning. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you guys in the next video.